Yeah. Nice.
Thank you for talking me through that.
Yeah. Hope it was fun.
It was.
So there's a lot more prompting stuff that we can review. So after a few shots, like just tip of the iceberg, there's chain of thought, which is like chaining multiple thoughts together, step by step. This is very powerful for mathematical stuff, but and then there's things like automatical chain of thought, like when applying chain of thought prompting with demonstrations, the process involves handcrafting effective and diverse examples. This manual effort could lead to suboptimal solutions. Zhang et al. Proposed an approach to eliminate manual efforts by leveraging LLMs with let's think step by step prompt to generate reasoning chains for demonstrations one by one. This automated process can still end up with mistakes and generated chains. To mitigate the effects of the mistakes, the diversity of the demonstrations matter. So auto chain of thought samples questions with diversity and generates reasoning chains to construct the demonstrations. So they essentially have, I think they have like an LLM that generates the questions and then another LLM that generates the responses. So that is also very interesting. You should probably read that paper to learn more about chain of thought. But then there's also self-consistency. So self-consistency is the ability to replace the naive, greedy decoding used in chain of thought prompting and instead use multiple diverse reasoning paths through a few shot chain of thought, and then use generations to select the most consistent answer. This helps to boost the performance of chain of thought prompting on tasks involving arithmetic and common sense reasoning. So when I was 6, my sister was half my age. How I'm 70. How old is my sister?
Correct answer is 67.
ChatGPT is dumb. But yeah, so there's things like this. Then there's also like many more abstract forms of prompting, and we're like now there's been a lot of research with like very abstract stuff, like introduction of prompt chaining. Prompt chaining essentially is like you're a helpful assistant. Your task is to answer a question given in a document. The first step is to extract quotes relevant to your question from the document delimited by hashtags. Please output the list of quotes using quotes. And like this is a very specific prompt. And this is essentially what you would use if you wanted to like really like do something specific. And Tree of Thoughts, the reason why this community is so big, is very interesting. So it generates. So it's using one model to generate many paths or many possibilities. So many chain of thoughts, all happening at the same time. But then we're using another model to evaluate the output of the first model. So we generate a thought, then we evaluate the thought, and then we do this many times all at the same time. And then we rate each thought, and then we cut out the trees that don't have a threshold. They don't meet a threshold. The threshold is 0.0 to 1.0. So this is what it looks like. We generate many thoughts all at once, and then we delete the one that doesn't meet the evaluation threshold. And the goal is to reach the response using the fastest or the most reliable thought. Really, really good paper. Really, really good technique as well, especially if you do it correctly. And then there's things like retrieval augmented generation, which is RAG, or long-term memory, we call it in swarms. So essentially what this does is it takes a query and then it looks up a vector database of the tokens related to that query. And then with this now, now you can essentially remove the issue of the context window and hallucination by having an LLM to query the database and then bring a response back. So this is really good for like, this is really good if you wanted to retrieve very specific and precise information from a database, and also lower hallucination. So that's very important. Automatic reasoning and tool use. This is a pretty cool one. So we're combining chain of thought prompting and tools in an interleaved manner has shown to be a strong and robust approach to address many tasks with LLMs. So ART works as follows. Given a new task, it selects demonstrations of multi-step reasoning and tool use from a task library. At test time, it pauses generation from whenever external tools are called and integrate their output before resuming generation. ERT encourages the model to generalize from demonstrations to decompose the new tasks and use tools in an appropriate place. So task libraries is set like many examples. Then we're going to essentially retrieve those. It improves few shell prompting, and it does well in a couple of benchmarks. Automatic prompt engineer. So this is essentially what we just did. So here's where we use LLMs to generate prompts. Really good paper. I haven't read it, but the first steps involves a LLM that is given output demonstrations to generate instruction candidates for a task. These candidate solutions will guide the search procedure. The instructions are executed using a target model. When the most appropriate instruction is selected based on a computed evaluation score. So this is like a fully automatic prompting. Text grad and whatever else. Multimodal chain of thought is very important because multimodal reasoning is what's actually important. Text reasoning is not really that important. The multimodal world is a much clearer, much more grounded form of perception of the world around us. So I highly encourage you to look into multimodal chain of thought, which is basically just chain of thought, but with images and with models that can understand images. Then there's also things like graph prompting, which a lot of people like for some reason. I don't know. It seems kind of elusive because anything really could be a graph. So then there's things like function calling, which is getting an LLM to output JSON. So we want the model to fill in this function, and a function calling is the ability to call external APIs with an LLM. So you can essentially get the model to interact with APIs by getting the model to output JSON, parsing the JSON, then executing the function. That's kind of like the 3-step process. Context caching. So Gemini does this. Essentially, context caching is uploading, caching, and querying. So first convert the README file containing the summaries to a plain text file. You upload the text using the generative AI library. A cache is created using the caching cache content create function. This involves specifying the model name, providing a name for the cache, defining instruction for the model. You're an expert AI researcher. Setting a time to live TTL for the cache, 15 minutes. Creating the model. We then create a generative model instance using the cache content. We can start querying the model with a natural language question like, can you please tell me what the latest AI papers of the week? Can you list the papers that mention Mama, list the title of the paper and summary, and etc., etc. The results were promising. The model accurately retrieved and summarized information from the text file. The workflow has a potential to be a valuable research tool for researchers. If we wanted to implement something like this, we could essentially have ChatGPT build it for us. And I'll show you how to do that. So the ability to implement papers and prompts and things is extremely important. You need to be able to implement things like this. So we say implement the following cache, but make it a general structure class object in Python. make it easily configurable, and add types, error handling, and documentation. Simple prompts, one shot. Actually, this is one shot. We're giving it this. So there's the cache. So here we want to say we want to implement it from scratch. Implement the cache. Don't use generative AI library. And there you go. This is good code. This is what good code looks like. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's most of the prompting strategies to cover today. Does anybody have any questions or anything to say? Let's see. Yeah, so this website has a lot more prompting. We're actually going to do another workshop on Monday. So it'll be much more technical, mostly for function calling and newer forms of prompting mechanisms. But essentially, we've looked at zero-shot prompting, few-shot prompting. We looked at how does prompting even function. Like, that is like, what is temperature, what is top P, what is frequency penalties, what are these things? And then essentially, like, how can we provide examples, provide instructions that let the models do what we want them to do. And for that, I always recommend just provide clean English. Okay, don't just use English. Don't make any grammatical mistakes, because now the model has to kind of like waste energy, waste tokens trying to decipher what it is you want. So always be precise, be direct, put delimiters, segment things. You have to literally act as if you're talking with the child. So that's how you should be thinking about creating prompts. So this is what that prompting strategy looks like. And again, you can implement if you have questions about things, you can work with ChatGPT and just go back and forth, trying to understand something. None of this is difficult. It does take time to. You do need experience. That is something you do need. So, but yeah, this website is super cool. They've been posting a lot of stuff on how to build good prompts for a good amount of time now, and I've learned a lot from them. So you should definitely check them out, and just like learn more from them. And stay alert for new papers that come out. New prompting strategies come out every single week, every single day. You have to be on the lookout for them. Otherwise, you'll probably be left behind. So this looks like a prompting paper. That looks like a prompting paper. That looks like a prompting paper. That looks like a prompting paper. There's prompting papers, model architecture papers. You have to like segment these in your head. Scaling laws with vocabulary. That's kind of like a both model prompting paper. Retrieval enhanced.
There's a question in the chat.
DSPY. I don't really know what they do, man. I honestly don't know what they do. It's weird. I don't know. It's a weird thing. I don't know what they do, man. Look at this. Programming, not prompting. Foundation models. Yeah, so they're essentially, I mean, they're just having models create prompts. They're having models create prompts, or they're having models optimize prompts. But the syntax is just weird. I've seen the syntax before. Context, question, answer. Yeah, like I don't know, man. This doesn't look very easy to use. Maybe you could use this if you wanted to generate a prompt. But I don't know. I would need to try this. Yeah, this is, I don't know. This is really not, like, this right here is not a good practice in Python. Why would you import? They're just importing the package. Why aren't they just importing input field? I don't know. This is a red flag right here. This is not good Python. Yeah, so this is made by Stanford. Stanford people are not good. They don't know how to write good code. But it might be useful in some ways. Another form of prompting that I haven't mentioned, which is very popular, especially for the React people and for the LangChain people, is React. So basically, React is like thought, act, observation. It's kind of like a format to simplify what the model is seeing, a plan. Like this is LangChain. Action, search, action input, observation, thought. I need to find out Harry Styles' age. Action, search, action input, Harry Styles. Like it's essentially like thought, observation, act, plan, and sometimes it can be more or less than that. But this is kind of useful for like, let's say you wanted to modify like a GATS pipeline involve or something, and like something that requires like multi-model reasoning. This would be very good for. Reflexion is a framework to reinforce agents through linguistic feedback. So Reflexion converts feedback, either language or scalar, from the environment into linguistic feedback, also referred to as self-reflection, which is provided as in context for an LLM agent in the next episode. So this is a complicated diagram. I don't know who built this, but it looks really dumb. Task, trajectory, action, observation, action. Heuristic, which is the feedback, hallucination. Then it just gives you a new response. This is also interesting. It could be very useful. And yeah, that's it for today, folks. I'm still sick. I've been sick for like 2 weeks, so I'm not uh I'm not doing too good. um, but I still wanted to do this workshop because we've been trying to do one every week, and we want to do more of them every week. We want to reach the point where we do one every single day about prompting, about agents, about something useful. So, and a lot of people have been asking me how to build good prompts. I've also seen people build very bad prompts and then get frustrated because it's like, how do I build prompts, bro? LLM sucks, bro. These LLMs are stupid. We're like 50 years away from AGI, bro. Nah, man. You're just a bad prompter. Um, Prompting now is definitively going to be one of the most important activities humans can do. In fact, it might just be one of the most important, if not the most important. Because somebody that knows how to prompt is like 10,000 times more efficient than someone who doesn't know how to prompt. So knowing how to prompt is critical to your survival as a human being now. Like people have been right now, more than 50% of the code on GitHub is AI generated. Check this shit out. Like, and this is probably even up now. It's probably even more than 60%. In fact, most of the Swarm's code base, let's say maybe 63% is AI generated. Now, it does go through extensive evaluation. Some people think that LLMs generate shit code, and that's because they generate shit prompts that they feed into these models that are actually smart, but they give them bad prompts, and then models generate bad shit because people give them bad prompts. And so I would advise just build good prompts, and then good things will happen to you. And that's essentially about it. Thank you for coming out.
Do you have?
Yep.
Thank you, Kai. Do you have any prompts that you use for evaluating how good your prompts are?
Yeah. Yeah. So if you go to Swarm Cell World, we can I actually built a agent output evaluator prompt. So this will do exactly what you just asked. Now, there's a couple of other things you can do. You can create an evaluation system, which is kind of difficult, but you can create an eval system for whatever task you're trying to solve. Corporate tax law, finance law, like, you can have a human build this, you can have an AI build this. You would essentially create an eval system, and then you would conduct an analysis based off of the results from the generating LLM and with the evaluation system. And that would essentially be probably the only way to evaluate what you're trying to do. That is if there's not already an eval for what you're trying to do. But you could tell by evaluation, let's say I tell this to generate code. I get the code, I try it, it works. That's a good prompt. So it's a very multi-dimensional question. It's not just have agent evaluate other agent output. You have to specialize the agent that's evaluating for the agent that is going to be evaluated. So does anybody have any more questions, ideas, concerns? But again, you have to just try this again and again. You just have to do more iterations and see what works, what doesn't work, because things are changing. Again, prompting is dependent on what model you're using. So in the future, as better models start to come out, prompting mechanisms from the previous era of models might be substantially different than the prompting strategies you would do in the modern day. So it really just depends on what model you're using. Different models have different sources of knowledge, and there's different ways of tapping those sources of knowledge. Does that make sense? And also, if you have prompts that you think are really good and useful, you should share them in swarms. We've kind of like been keeping this kind of secret because it's kind of like in a beta phase, but you should share your prompts on swarms. Again, we're gonna have a feature where you can literally sell your prompts, and you'll be able to make money from it. And swarms will take a very small fee of 5%. But, yeah. All right, well, let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'm going to go back to trying to recover from this wretched and horrible disease that has infiltrated my body.
Thank you all for coming today.
Thank you. Very much. I have an off-topic question. I saw a post on your LinkedIn using swarms with LangGraph, but couldn't find it on your GitHub. Can you please? Yeah. Alright guys, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. And we're going to host another workshop on Monday. So sign up if you want to attend that one. And yeah, appreciate you coming out.